Africa in third place. Is there a story to tell there?
They have got a very localized following in that central Karoo area, a few of the municipalities, also where they previously already have been in coalitions with a range of other parties. And they've also done musical chairs incredibly well, now with the DA, then ANC and Blink, and they're in another alliance there.
Does this give them an upper hand though?
It seems, they see, I know they were putting up candidates in more of the local municipalities in that area this time around, and the high profile that they obviously obtained through their coalition participation there has stood them in good stead. We see that. And it's fascinating across all the provincial results that we see being projected, and I believe quite reliably projected now, is about a 10% gap of outstanding party results. The big parties and the known newcomers like Action SA, etc., they are calculated in there, but then about an 8 to 10% gap. And that's where many of these small parties, maybe an independent here and there if they're very lucky, but I'm looking out for many of these smaller parties that are going to come through and possibly force quite a few additional coalition governments in those municipalities.
For a long time leading up to the election, there was a talk about the turnout differential. What was your reaction when the actual numbers came through last night in terms of the turnout being less than 50%?
Yes, I was simultaneously shocked and did expect it. But we were still hoping for at least something above 50%. Do you think that less than half of the registered voters, not even eligible persons, but registered voters, actually
stayed home,
saw the sense of going out to vote? And one doesn't want to criticize them because, politicians hadn't done themselves proud. Political parties had been quite pathetic in many cases, and the local government system has been so discredited on so many fronts, so many indices, including Auditor General, and yet we are asking people, voters, to go and vote for this. And it would have been like believing, as some people say, in Father Christmas, to believe that this local government is actually going to deliver.
Did COVID-19 have anything to do with it?
In a way, yes. In a broader sense of preparations being stop and start many times, and the IEC perhaps being somewhat hamstrung in some of the arrangements, and that had an effect. But I don't think people felt very unsafe to go out and vote. There were so many measures in place. It was a bit like going to a shopping centre on a public holiday.
Yeah, I know the ballot counting is not done yet. That is continuing. But what are your numbers saying at the moment?
The numbers are saying that South African political parties, especially big parties, still dominant in many ways, like the ANC, can be very happy this has not been a national and provincial election, because then we would today probably have been sitting with a national coalition government and coalition governments in those two major provinces of Gauteng and the Western Cape. And this is really filtering through across the metropolitan municipalities. We are just seeing those results coming through now. And the ones that were these controversial coalition governments, they are remaining coalition governments. And the DA is strengthening there in relation to the ANC. As a general rule, there are small exceptions here and there. Very interestingly, the EFF has not really been growing. There have been two or three, a handful of exclusions, especially in the metros too.
That's an interesting observation considering the amount of work they put into campaigning.
Yes, indeed. They range across the provinces, really from 2-3 percentage points down to, I think there's one place where they're 3 percentage points up, but the other is -1, -2, or +1. So, and that's not really growth. The DA has also had ups and downs, but a little more up than down. And the big scoring parties so far, growth parties, are strangely those newcomers like Action SA, not massively, but 2 or 3 percentage points. And other small ones, Good is making a bit of progress here and there. But Freedom Front Plus, they've been growing consistently over 2-3 percentage points.
And they're
across the
very
board.
happy. Actually, we'll be talking to Dr. Groenewald shortly, but I don't like these moments where we have to turn our backs to the viewers. But let's just a quick look at the leaderboard, and the African National Congress still leading, and the Democratic Alliance coming second. Speak to those numbers that you see on the board.
Yes, indeed. And these are by voting districts declared and where parties win and when they lose. And if I look at that board, I see the yellow far more. I see the DA coming through much more strongly than in previous elections in terms of those voting district wins. And the spread, the coloring of this kind of map is quite different from what it was 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was overwhelmingly ANC colours across these kind of maps. Even in Western Cape, just a few enclaves, DA in the Central Karoo, Garden Route area, the Winelands district where the DA had been coming through, also in strong coalitions. And there is much more of that kind of prevalence now.
Prof, we'll continue to have a chat, but let's just take you back to the floor.